There's a lot of significance of Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, as we say, is the Rosh Hashanah La'ilanot, right? It's the new year for the trees and for the plants, and it's as well a time that people we put together the whole concept of planting, and so many times people they plant trees and they plant. So and there's other planting as well that we do, which is and we'll. Hopefully, as the evening goes on, be able to discuss this concept in terms of where planting comes in. I guess we would say that there's no better parable to say that when it comes to the concept of parenting, and which is a real concept, certainly when it comes to planting seeds and things and children growing and people growing, there's no better concept, parenting, to compare it to a tree and the seed in a tree. Why? Because if you think about it, right, what happens when you have a tree? A tree, you put the seed in the ground and you have to nurture it, right? You got to give it all its nourishment, all its this, it's that, and I guess there are some seeds that are, have more of a tendency to just grow quicker. Some seeds have more of a tendency to take some more time. Some need a little bit more care, need a little bit more of this, need a little more of that. So, and we're not in control of the results. We hope that it'll grow, right? We hope that the tree will come out. We hope that, but we have no idea, right? It's all in Hashem's hand. We do our best, as we always say many times, right? We put in or we do. So it's the same thing with parenting and with our children. That there are all types of children, and there are all types of, as we say, and it's not when I'm talking about children, I'm talking about all ages over here. I'm not just talking about young children, I'm talking about teenagers, we're talking about much older children. There's all types, and there's all types of personalities, and all types of people with different strengths and weaknesses, and all these types of, and we're given, in a way, that neshama, that pure soul, in a way, is born, and we're here to nurture it. We're here to give as much as we can to that neshama, to that individual. And hopefully through that, they're going to grow to the best. Now, do we know? Some grow quicker than others. And I don't just mean physically. Some, grow and develop in this way better. And some, we don't know. Emotionally, yeah. And some are given... you'll have two children, right? One has, IQ level this, one has IQ level that, and one has this strength, and one has this talent, and one doesn't. So it's like we didn't choose that. That didn't Hashem gave it. This is the child that God gave you, and this is the strength, and you gotta make it happen. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do your best to nourish it. And it's interesting because actually the word for offspring, which is our children, the Hebrew word is zera. Zera is a word for offspring. Zera means seed, and it's a very, very apropos, and it's very, very much this exact point. And it's also interesting because we never know where things will come to fruition. Meaning that sometimes you'll see certainly when it comes to a child, you'll see certain children, or whether they're teenagers, whether they're 20-year-olds, whether they're little children, suddenly they'll just develop, and one day things will start happening, and you're like, wow, where did that, and it's not just, sometimes we think to ourselves, wow, must have been what I said, yesterday, maybe that suddenly, and it could be that definitely had an impact, definitely, but sometimes, we have to think a little bit more into it, and I think that it could be this is a lot over time, things developing, and then the seed growing, and a lot of months, and even years, and even this, of a lot going on, and it's the exact same idea when it comes to a tree, and that's the concept of Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat right now is when the new year for the trees are beginning. Now, many times in the spring, it's not going to be till they actually, till things start to come to fruition, and until we start seeing the real growth come, but right now, these next few months and we're putting in a lot. We're putting a lot into it. And the hope is that then suddenly we're going to see things come together and see things come to fruition from that. But it all comes from our efforts that we put into it. It all comes from.
You're like, ah. But this is Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
wow.
in the next day is
You'll be
a
drinking.
different season.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said you were doing. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, please, Sam, go ahead.
Oh no, actually, you were doing something about with your daughter with college. Did you say?
Yeah, Melanie next year is gonna go. It's gonna be 12th grade, so they have college. They were talking about SATs and ACTs and how to get ready in the colleges,
Applications.
when to do applications, make sure that you have enough credits, what to take 12th grade. So
Yeah, I remember. I think to organize all.
yeah,
Keeps everyone busy, I'm
yes,
sure.
on the toes.
Anyways, okay, so let's, first thing, big thank you. Thank you both, Lisa and Sam, for hosting and having everyone, so thank you very much. So it happens to be, I thought it'd be very apropos, being that this Thursday is Tu B'Shvat. This Thursday is the holiday of the...
Josh asked me if he can stay home from school.
Oh, there's a good reason. You know, there's always, you gotta always come up with whatever reason you can, you know?
If they can have
Tell him
Arab,
you need to he needs to celebrate the holiday, you'll tell him, you know? That's
we
understandable.
can have Arab Thanksgiving. We can have Arab.
So,
Half day.
that is pretty funny. And there's a lot of significance of Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, as we say, is the Rosh Hashanah La'ilanot, right? It's the new year for the trees and for the plants, and it's as well a time that people we put together the whole concept of planting, and so many times people they plant trees and they plant. So, and there's other planting as well that we do, which is, and we'll hopefully, you know, as the evening goes on, be able to discuss this concept in terms of where planting comes in. You know, I guess we would say that there's no better parable to say that when it comes to the concept of parenting, and which is a real concept, certainly when it comes to planting, you know, seeds and things, and children growing and people growing. There's no better concept, parenting, to compare it to a tree and the seed in a tree. Why? Because if you think about it, right, what happens when you have a tree? A tree, you know, you put the seed in the ground and you have to nurture it, right? You got to give it all its nourishment, all its this, it's that. And I guess there are some seeds that are, you know, have more of a tendency to just grow quicker. Some seeds have more of a tendency to take some more time. Some need a little bit more care, need a little bit more of this, need a little more of that. So, and we're not in control of the results. We hope that it'll grow, right? We hope that the tree will come out. We hope that, but we have no idea, right? It's all in Hashem's hand. We do our best, as we always say many times, right? We put in or we do. So it's the same thing with parenting and with our children, that there are all types of children, and there are all types of, as we say, and it's not when I'm talking about children, I'm talking about all ages over here. I'm not just talking about young children, I'm talking about teenagers, we're talking about much older children. There's all types, and there's all types of personalities, and all types of people with different strengths and weaknesses, and all these types of, and we're given, in a way, that neshama, that pure soul, in a way, you know, is born, and we're here to nurture it. We're here to give as much as we can to that neshama, to that individual, and hopefully through that they're going to grow to the best. Now, do we know some grow quicker than others? And I don't just mean physically. You know, some grow and develop in this way better, and some we don't know emotionally, yeah, and some are given. Some you'll have two children, right? One has IQ level this, one has IQ level that, and one has this strength and one has this talent and one doesn't. So it's like we didn't choose that. That didn't Hashem gave it. This is the child that God gave you, and this is the strength, and you gotta make it happen. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do your best to nourish it. And it's interesting because actually the word for offspring, which is our children, the Hebrew word is zera. Zera is a word for offspring. Zera means seed, and it's a very, very apropos, and it's very, very much this exact point. And it's also interesting because we never know where things will come to fruition. Meaning that sometimes you'll see certainly when it comes to a child, you'll see certain children or certain, whether they're teenagers, whether they're 20-year-olds, whether they're little children, suddenly they'll just develop, and one day start like, things will start happening, and you're like, wow, where did that, and it's not just, sometimes we think to ourselves, wow, must have been what I said, yesterday, maybe that suddenly, and it could be that definitely had an impact, definitely, but sometimes, we have to think a little bit more into it, and I think that it could be this is a lot over time, things developing, and then the seed growing, and a lot of months, and even years, and even this, of a lot going on, and it's the exact same idea when it comes to a tree, and that's the concept of Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat right now is when the new year for the trees are beginning. Now, many times in the spring, it's not going to be till they actually, till things start to come to fruition, and till we start seeing the real growth come, but right now, these next few months and these next few, we're putting in a lot. We're putting a lot into it. And the hope is that then suddenly we're going to see things come together and see things come to fruition from that. But it all comes from our efforts that we put into it. It all comes from. So yeah.
I know in celebrate Sukkot, in some ways it's a celebration of the harvest.
Right.
So is this? I guess that's harvest time is in the fall.
Right.
But is this the time typically when fields are planted?
No, so this is more, when we say that, it's actually interesting. The Rosh Hashanah Ilanot, the new year for the trees, that this is where there's, you might say year, when it comes to certain tithes, and when it comes to certain things that have to be given to whether it's to the Aniyim, which are the poor people, whether it's to the certain Kohanim and certain priests, certain things were given, the tithes from the fields, which are certain parts of the field, and amount was given as it's called a tithe. It's called what's called maaser, which is a concept that's given to. So this is the cutoff point, meaning a person had to give for each year their certain amount. So this is the cutoff point right here, Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, so whatever was given from the last year, meaning that was the last year ended now, you know what I mean? So now's the cutoff point starting this new year, so how much tithe that a person has to bring. That's really the concept in terms of the tithes. So it's new tax season, right. So the accountants are going to be doing well right now, right. Actually, maybe they're done it was before it would be the end of the tax season, right, the end of December, so now we're done, now we're off to the... Right. So what I thought we would do, and again, feel free if anyone, please, comments and discussions, and really this concept obviously is not, to be able to even think that we'll finish or just cover. This is a huge topic and a beyond huge. I'm saying this is many, many sessions in a way, many. So, but I thought what we would try to do is, especially being that Tu B'Shvat is coming up, to try to cover a few points and a few areas and just touch on a few points on these areas, and just to throw out a number of different things, at least get a broad perspective on things, and a broad, and again, a lot of these concepts come from different areas, within the Torah. As well comes from, a lot of discussions from, from people, and a lot of discussions with different psychologists and different this and that, and a lot. It's a makeup of a lot of different things. But again, feel free at any point if you want to make your comments or make your. So I thought first thing, which is just an important point, which is that parenting in a way keeps changing. Now it doesn't change every day, you know what I mean? But it does sometimes when people think okay. I had a kid a number of years ago, whatever. So, presumably, if I have another kid 10 years later, we're all, and it's just like anything, things change, life changes, and the world is changing, and which means to say that we kind of have responsibility to keep up with the times, and keep up with. There's a lot always new research and new this and new that and new ideas and we should, as parents, I'm saying, keep up with what's going on, and keep up with, and it'll help us to be able to, and realize which generation, in a way, which time period we're raising our children in, where the surroundings, and it might be very different than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago, than 30, and to just keep that in mind. It's a very important point. So one I guess called point number one, but like a number of is the idea that if you take this into perspective, that you're dealing with a neshama, which means that you're dealing with a soul that was given to you from from Hashem, and sometimes what happens is, I guess we'll start off the other way, that if imagine you're in a glass factory, right? You're in a glass factory, they're making all this this glass all over the place, and so what happens is probably there's many pieces of glass as well that are on the floor and different things that have come, right? Because there's a lot going on over there. Now, obviously, there's beautiful pieces of glass, I guess, that are being made, but there's stuff that has fallen onto the floor as well, and that's just the way it works. You know what I mean? In a factory. So too, you have to realize, just as when we're dealing with our children, that sometimes I guess the word is get used to them, meaning to say that we get so used to them that that a person might or a parent might tend to almost in a way, pardon the phrase, but like step on them, in the sense that we get so used that they're our children, they're a kid, okay, if I say the wrong thing or if I do this or insult them a little bit or I'm not so sensitive to them, it's my kid, you know what I mean? And we have to realize that this is a very precious neshama that was given to us, a very precious soul, a very precious gift that was given, and every child, of course, is a tremendous gift. And to realize that it's not, we have to be very sensitive and very caring. And again, there's always plenty of stories to be told. And it's not, I remember once a big rabbi of mine told me a line that, don't think, it's usually not like one, mistake suddenly causes it that you've blown it. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. It's maybe many mistakes, I'm saying, but it doesn't work that way. But a person has to realize that we're dealing with a very, it's sensitive. It's a sensitive topic, and kids are sensitive, and people people are sensitive, kids are sensitive, and we have to try to make sure, and by learning more about these things and learning to say the right things and do the right things, and not to take it for granted that they're our kid, whatever. If I say something that hurts them or say something that's not so respectful to them, or they're my kid, but that's not the right attitude. And I guess what comes with that is just the idea, which is something that's always stressed in no matter who you'll speak to, and no matter what source will be quoted from the Torah, and what source, is just the idea that when it comes to parenting, it has to be totally filled with unadulterated love. Right. So of course that concept of unadulterated love is it just reminds me of a story that I heard a little while ago. Someone was telling me how a certain person had a child, and someone they had their kid get together with some other kid, and I guess these two, I think they were 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, I don't know, whatever they were, they had a great time together. And the next time, so the father comes, and supposedly it's a true story. I don't know, it sounds a little wild to be a true story, but it is a true story. And they got together, the father comes to pick up the kid, and so this other father says to this father, your son was a pleasure, and it was really great having him. And the person says, are you talking about my son? No, my son's not he couldn't believe he was hearing this from the person. But, again, I don't know how to explain that story, but the bottom line is, of course, everyone, the concept of unadulterated love, now, again, then people start bringing in, obviously, things like boundaries and stuff like that, obviously but that right now we're just discussing the concept that you need to give your kid everything. You need to give them their undivided attention. You need to give them as much as you possibly can, meaning that they need to know that you as a parent are there for them. They need to know, and it's one of those things, I guess, when it comes to relationships with a kid, and when it comes to relationship with your own children. I mean, I see for myself, I guess, as kids are getting older, and as kids are, everything's about, they always say when it comes to education, everything's about relationships. So if you don't have that relationship, if a kid doesn't know that it's an open, communication, open relationship, and they feel very distanced, they feel very, all the time, all the time. I just saw just the other day, there was a whole huge education article that someone had written. It was a very nice education article, and then one person made a comment and said, I have a 22-year-old or 21-year-old, son, or I think it was son, and our relationship is really not good. You know, it was not on good terms, and I just wish I'd read this beforehand. And the bottom line is, if there's not open communication, and the kid doesn't feel that my parent loves me. Now again, a parent might say, "Of course I love." You know, it's like the what do they always say that about about marriage, right? The famous marriage joke, right? Person gets they get married, and then suddenly after they're married for who knows how many years, and suddenly the wife says, I want a divorce. I think it's after 40, 50 or whatever. He goes, what do you mean? What do you want to, She says, no, I want a divorce. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, because, I don't think you love me anymore. So the husband says, what do you mean? He goes, I told you when we got married that I loved you, and if anything changes, I'll let you know. So I guess when it comes, but the bottom line is, obviously we need to, these things need to be said, and they need to be and they need to be discussed, and a kid needs to, and it has to be the honest truth. The kid really needs to feel that. If they don't feel that, that's a real. So that would definitely be the, Then when it comes to the idea, it's interesting when it comes the concept of time. We live. And I know Sam, and we've had different conversations at times, about the old cell phone age and the old, how now things, and it makes the world become much more, everything's just, quick and this and that, the whole concept of communication. People don't even know how to communicate with each other. People don't know how to, but definitely in terms of time, if you tell people, no, you got to spend time, no, I'm so busy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm texting everyone, and it's interesting, there's an individual who's known as the Kotzker Rebbe. He's a Hasidic rabbi. And he says the idea of the Chinuch Habanim, which is educating our children. He says it's like being an archer. Why? He says because just like an archer takes the arrow, the closer that the arrow is held towards him, that the more straight the arrow goes. So he says, so too, when it comes to parenting, that the closer the arrow is to your heart, to your heart. So if you bring that arrow, the closer it is to, as you're pulling it back, the closer it is to your heart. So the more straight.
Is that
more accurate?
I don't know a lot about archery, but is that a method?
It's like a bow and arrow.
So I guess you're supposed to pull. I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of an archer myself, but this is what I think that you pull it.
So you're not supposed to pull it.
Right. I guess you're supposed to pull it as close. I guess. Again, I'm not an archer myself, but this is. I think so. You're supposed to, I guess, pull the thing as close.
So who says?
His name is the Kotzker Rebbe. He's a Hasidic rabbi. So he says this idea that just like when it comes to an archer, the closer the arrow is held to the heart, the more straight it goes. So he says, so too when it comes to parenting.
So the closer you're to your children,
the closer
the more you're going to get them to
your child is to your heart. And that your child really feels that.
Right.
That like you love them beyond belief. That the more straight they're going to go. Meaning, the path that they'll be taking is more together with you and together with
your aim.
And this idea is very, sometimes we take it for granted, and we all do, that we're so busy with everything else, and life is so busy, and you constantly hear a person say, listen, I'm busy making the money for the family, you know what I mean? Like, what do I have time for at least I'm giving you a good, and there's a great phrase I remember hearing a number of years ago. This is a tremendous phrase. The phrase was that you don't need to give so many presents, presents, but rather you need to give your presence, right? Which is presence, and it really makes a huge. Sometimes we don't even realize. Say to ourselves, another night out, whatever. I've got this. Simcha, whether it's some happy occasion or whatever, I got to go to this, I got to go to that, or whatever it is, or I'm busy, and all the PTA meetings and all of this and that. And again, not to say that you shouldn't, person should be involved with their communities, and should be involved in this and that, but you have to know your limits, and you got to know that like your priority has got to be your children and your family and all the other things I'm saying, you have to work it out, but it can't be that it's at the expense of your children. If your children just know, they're like, yeah, my parent, I don't know, I really rarely see them. I hear it all the time in school. Some people would just work crazy hours, and like beyond belief. And like the kid just tells me, you know what I'm saying, like they never see them. I'm saying they're lucky if they see them on Shabbos. Yeah, right. If you speak to the parents have they have absolutely no idea just in terms of any involvement in the kid. But from the kid's perspective, I'm saying the kid just in their heart, I'm saying like what they know is just, yeah, I don't know. When my parent comes home, they're so busy on their phone or they're so busy this and like maybe I'll see them at Shabbos. And I remember recently I was telling a certain, you know, like, yeah, I just know that my parent, you know, is just, I don't know, they're not so around, they're not, you know, they're busy or they're sleeping or they're who knows what. But it really is, and it's not so, you know, I used to always hear this line that it's not so much the, you know, the quantity, but rather, you know, obviously the quality, and it's got to be, and it's funny, someone recently was telling me a thing how, you know, if your kid comes to you, like at any, you know, you got to always cherish those moments when sometimes a kid comes to you and like wants to spend that time, that like even if you're busy beyond belief, like don't take it and listen, we're all busy and I assure you I've got plenty on my plate, you know, and everyone's got plenty on their plate, I'm saying, but like when a kid comes to you and I find it especially with boys, you know, because boys are just more, you know, I'm saying a girl just automatically, girls are just more emotional and more this or more that. You know, boys are
mature.
Yeah, that's true also. That's true also. I'm saying like the boys are more, you know, they're playing their sports and they're watching their sports. It's like it's not so often that like they actually want to spend time and just like yeah, no. So it's just like when those moments happen, it's, you know,
Yeah, you gotta grab them.
yeah, you do gotta grab them. It's like an interesting, you know. It was just the other evening. I don't remember what it was, and then suddenly just like a whole conversation, and you know, and it was like, wow, this is just working out. It was just, you know, like things are going well. Like, let's just keep it. It's nice. You got to cherish those moments. It's true. Listen, you got to take advantage of those moments, and you know, they don't happen all the time. Yeah. So it's like when they happen, just. And again, if they don't happen, we in a way like have to create them and make them happen because. You know, we got to do our best, and whether it's, you know, taking, you know, independent time with each kid and this and that and whatever is not an easy thing, but it's a worthwhile. Someone was telling a story. I remember this person he saw, like this person who had quite a number of children, and they're like walking with this one kid on one of his main blocks in New York, whatever it was, and so this rabbi sees the person, if it was ready, like late at night, and rolls down the window and says, "Look, do you need a ride? Like I feel bad, like you're walking on." And no, I purposely, you know, this is what I do. Like I, you know, different times in the month or different time, you know, take out one kid and just to, you know, give him, you know, 20, 30 minutes is like, it's huge, you know, it really makes it was a very sweet, anyway, so that's one, you know, one area. Obviously, the concept of time, the concept of unadulterated love, and then there's the concept of simcha, which is happiness, meaning to say, you know, I guess you call optimism, or I guess optimism would be a good word to use here, and especially I guess when it comes to Judaism, that like we need to be upbeat, we need to be and show our children that, you know, the concept of Judaism is not. Not too exciting and not you know, just filled with a bunch of things that we can't do or things, because that obviously will make our children feel like, okay, this doesn't sound very exciting. I'm saying, like, if my parents telling me, but yet if we have this love of Judaism, we have this love, and I would say it's more meaning it's love of Judaism, love of life, love of everything. Everything is what we call a simcha sachayim, a happiness of life. We're excited. Yes, we all have challenges, right? So sometimes people like focus on their challenges so much. And again, some people have much, you know, more difficult challenges than others, but we're all given, as we always say, we're all given the perfect amount of challenges and the perfect situations for us. And again, people have health issues, some people have this issue, that issue, whatever it might be. But if we've tried not if our whole focus of life is just all on the challenge, so then of course anyone who's around us and anyone see like just everything like, oh, life's tough. How are things going? Tough. How are things going? Like if that's all people hear, so as opposed to a same person might be going through that similar situation, but yet if they're focused, yes, it happens to be I am going through a challenge right now. Yes, it happens to be I am going through, but yet I'm focused on the happiness of life. I'm focused on the fact that every moment is a bracha. Every moment is it makes it much more of a you know, a real.
Things can always be worse.
Yes.
So what you got is...
Right, 100%, yes. So, and therefore, you know, we have to realize, we have to focus on that, and this concept of, of love of Judaism, if we give that over to our children and we show them and they see us that we really love it, it makes a major, a major impact in that sense. That really brings us to the next concept, which is chesed. And chesed is acts of kindness. Right? We know that the word natan is to give, right, which is spelled nun taf nun. And natan is spelled the same way backwards and forwards. And what do we say? We always say the idea that if you give, that it comes back to you. Receive as well. That's so too that we have to teach our children this concept. And not just teach them that we have to be giving. This is one of the three character traits of every Jewish person, that we're what's called baishanim, which is a person who wants to do the right thing, has an amount of embarrassment inside of them, that they want to do what's right. And rachmanim, we are people who have mercy, and we're gomle chasadim, we're people who do acts of kindness. These are inherent in us as a people, as Jews. So we have to teach our children this, that we have to do chesed. We have to be people who are chesed people. And sometimes, a kid not so in the mood, or adults, we're not so in the mood. But I was like right now in school, actually, where we have a part of the parsha that we're learning is all about how Rivka, right? We know in the portion how Rivka, right, was known. She went to the well, and she was known for a big chesed that she did, her big acts of kindness. So we do a whole unit. It's like a whole 2-week unit about they have their chesed journals, and every night they got to go home and they write down and describe a whole chesed that they did both at home and then back in school. And this is a whole 2-week journal. Why is that? Because when you see that, it's not so hard to do. Sometimes we think it's like, you have to do this major chesed.
Huge, yeah.
Right, it'll change around the world. And no, the fact that you picked up a piece of paper on the floor, and the fact that you went...
chesed starts at home.
And that's true. Yes, that's true as well, right. The dishes are sitting there, right? Mom needs help, the groceries just came from, so what are you doing sitting at the television, right? You got to scream forever until anyone comes, right? It's true. Please, chesed, that's right. You should know, by the way, I told my students... I told them all, I said, I'm going to give you a little secret. I say, if you want to get some real brownie points from mom and dad, I said, next time you see them, come back with the groceries before they have to even ask you. I said, go run over to them and tell them you want to, and you're going to, trust me, you're going to, and that's the bottom. We have to teach them that. We have to teach them that chesed is, and it's funny, to the degree that it has to almost be like forced. Now I might say like, well, what does that mean? You don't want to force, but I mean forced is that it has to be really encouraged, because like the more a person trains themselves, and that's why when we do this unit with this chesed journal, what's the whole point? The whole point is obviously that we should get them involved in chesed, but it's to train people and to see that it's not so hard to do chesed. It's not, if a person thinks I could do a chesed a day, it's not a big deal. What's the big deal? You can't put away some groceries, you can't do this, you can't pick up something from the floor, you can't go help someone who needs a cup of water. I'm saying this is not a big deal. This is nothing. We should do many cheseds every day. But when a person sees on paper, wow, it's not so hard. This wasn't big. These aren't like things that you changed around. You changed around the world and did who knows what. This is picked up a piece of paper from
going to Israel.
Yeah, right. It's not a. So if we realize that it's a, there's a great story that's told. It's really an unbelievable story. There was a true story over here. There's a mother. She had I believe it was a 9-year-old daughter, and in her apartment complex, whatever it was, this older blind woman moved next door. It was an older lady, a blind lady, and she moved next door. And so the mother told the daughter that, I think it'd be like a nice idea if you go over like twice a week and read to the lady, spend some time with her. And so, so the person, the girl decided, she was gonna do that, and she began doing that, and the girl, I guess, asked this woman and said, what is there a way like we can, just in terms of your eyes, what happened or what can be done? Can we help it? And the woman said, in 2 years, I'm going to be 65. And I'll be able to collect Social Security then. And then I'll be able to get this surgery that I need. And there's a major surgery that I need, but I can't do it right now. I don't have the money for it. And I can't. This is what the woman tells the 9-year-old girl. So listen what happens. and to be able to fix her eyes. And apparently the surgery would have like totally fixed. So listen what
Cataract surgery.
I guess it was. Maybe it was like something different. I don't really. It sounds like it could be. I don't know exactly what it. So the little girl is a 9-year-old girl. The little girl on her own comes to school the next day, and she makes a collection. And she starts going around the school to every person in the school, and she's collecting funds.
It's a true story.
It's a true story, yes. She's collecting funds for this woman. What happens? She collects $83. This is what this little girl collects. Now she has no idea what's $83. I'm saying like $83. That's a nice amount of money. I guess that's nice. I guess for a little girl, but that ain't gonna cut it for the surgery. You know what I'm saying? But so what happens? She brings the money, and she comes that day, knocks on the door of this blind lady, and says, "Come with me, come with me." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Come with me." And she already knew of this girl, I guess had known her, whether her mother told her a certain doctor that was down the block or this or that. She brings the old lady to the doctor, and she's bringing her there. She's saying, and the doctor says, "Listen, this is, it's, the surgery, I guess, however, they start discussing the surgery a little, and the girl is there with her. And the girl says, we're all set. We're all ready for the surgery." And the doctor, okay, whatever. The girl hands the doctor this envelope. The doctor didn't open it at that point. And I guess the doctor at a certain, obviously, I guess when they left or wherever, the details of the story, basically the doctor then opens up this envelope and sees $83. Now, obviously $83 is not, is not going to do
If
it.
you were to walk into a surgeon's office with $83 and say, I want this surgery, they'd kick you out.
Immediately, put me first online,
And
right?
then insurance to pay for it.
And right, put me first online, right? And so what happens? The surgeon schedules the surgery, and the surgeon performs the surgery. So I guess maybe a little bit later, whether it's a few days later, weeks, I don't remember exactly how that worked, the mother of this 9-year-old girl, starts to, I guess, find out exactly what occurred, and says, and they didn't have much money to begin with, and says to the girl, like, what, and the girl says, well, I gave him this, and I guess, telling her, the mother realizes it was $80, she's like, oh my gosh, So she goes to the doctor, and she knocks and she goes, oh my goodness, I just heard what happened. I put 2 and 2 together, and I realized, like, we owe you a lot of money. And the doctor said, come on in, I want to share something with you, and I want to explain something to you. He goes, since your daughter came, then not only do you not owe me any money, but I want to show you what's in my pocket. And the surgeon pulls out the envelope, and this is weeks later, pulls out the envelope with this $83. And the surgeon said, I carry this around all the time. Why? Because wherever I go, if I'm ever down or I just poke my hand into my pocket, and this gives me encouragement. This gives me strength to realize that there's this little girl, this individual who cared so much about another person, and look how far she was ready to go, and look what she did for this woman, and she helped this woman. And I think that's the idea, that for all of it, obviously it stems from caring and this and that and chesed, and we have to teach our, and if our kids are going to say, well, I really don't care, well, you know what, the more and more we train people, and again, you don't force things on your kids, but when I say encourage, I mean like really encourage them, that to show them what chesed is and show them how we do chesed, and how the more and more you do it, the more and more it becomes ingrained and inculcated in a person, and it becomes that second nature. That's how we live. We're a chesed type of people. And there's a few more I'd like to touch on, and it's actually right. Purim is coming up. Not we still have some time, but Purim is coming up in March time. And there's a sentence from the Megillah, right, the Megillah Esther that we read, which is a very interesting sentence. And the sentence goes like this. It says that that this is talking about Mordechai, right, when they introduce Esther into the story. And the sentence says that Vayhi Omein es Hadassah, he Esther. And the way that English translates it is that and he reared or guided, but more reared would be the word Hadassah. He Esther, she is Esther. So now there's a few like kind of questions just on the sentence itself. It's kind of like, why does it have to, I guess repeat? Hadassah was another name for Esther. She had different names, and Hadassah was one. But like, why does it have to say this is Esther? And so they say the word Omein is just a very interesting Aleph Mem Nun. It's not your typical word, and this one rabbi translated just in a very interesting way. He said it really comes from the word Emunah, which is faith. Meaning that Mordechai had faith in Hadassah, and that faith, the fact that he had faith, he had confidence, he believed in her. Because of that, he was able to bring out her true potential as a person, and that's what made her he Esther. That's what made her become and allowed her to become. Right? Who's the hero of the whole story, right? In Purim, right? It was Esther. She was Hadassah, but the fact that he elevated her and brought out her greatness, her potential, brought out her true, really was able to bring it out. That's what allowed her to become Esther. And I think it's a very, very important, I know just from teaching myself, in school and just for my own children, I see, you can build a kid up and you can, destroy a kid. You know what I'm saying? It's very, now again, as we said before, it's not, one time is not going to destroy the kid or one, what I mean? Usually these type of things, a person says, oh, well, I think I blew it because already, I said one thing wrong. It doesn't work that way really, but if it's a constant and if all you do is just to put your kid down, and if all you do is, they say a line that like anytime you want to tell show your kid that they did something, that wasn't so, or I wouldn't say put your kid down, but like say, guide your kid, something like that. You should always make sure there's a compliment before. Like, don't just go ahead and lay things on and just assume like your kid, they're strong, don't do this, don't do that. It doesn't work that way. For every comment, really say there should really be two compliments, but like the bottom line is that's really what it is. And if we elevate our children and bring them up, and that's really what everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and every one of our kids has strengths and weaknesses. But so the more that we can bring out, especially those kids who don't have such self-esteems and don't have such confidence within themselves, just from numerous examples, I guess, in the within the Torah, or just all together, a child, a parent should first thing find all the strengths within every kid. You see a kid do something right. Let's say you have a kid. There's always those few kids, right, who are troublemakers. Let's just call them that, right? In school, they're always in the principal. There's always So does that mean that there's nothing good about them? Of course not. It might be more difficult to find, when they have sometimes these teacher meetings and they say, you got to find, and you hear some teachers go, I can't find anything, right? You know what I mean? It's just, that's wrong. It's not true. It's not true. Yeah. There's every kid, you can find things, and you got to hit at that point. And when you see that right thing happening, I have students, listen, there's all types of students. So yes, there are those students but when you find that right thing, you hit at it, you compliment it, you call their parents up, right? You wouldn't believe what so-and-so did. And they'll be, yeah, really? Yeah, I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And have them shower their kid with blessing, and have them, I write sometimes these things to the parents and call them, tell them, please, when your kid comes home, tell them that I called, tell them yourself, go on and on and on about it. You know what I mean? Yes. Why? Because that builds them up. When they hear that people believe in me and people have confidence in me, and people, and we know countless examples of if you don't bring a kid up in their confidence, you're literally not just that you're like lowering them, you're like, I wouldn't say killing them, but you're kind of,
their spirit.
Yes, you're totally destroying. There's actually a sentence in I believe it was in Navi, in the prophets, but I'm trying to remember the exact. But basically, the sentence was lahachayos leiv shefalim. I think. Oh no, hachayos leiv nid. Basically, the idea was that you're causing life to those people who are like downtrodden. And that's what you're supposed to do. And I remember I was had like a question on it. I thought to myself, why would he use the word lahachayos? Lahachayos is to live. Chayim, that's life, right? I would think it should use the words laharim. We should raise up, raise up the people who are downtrodden, not like give. And I think the honest truth is, and this is, I really believe, I think this is really the honest explanation of the sentence, is that like when you put someone down and when you put, it's not just like, okay, I put them, it's literally taking away their chayim. It's taking away their life. Like that's what it is. We don't realize like what a person who has a low self-esteem and especially when it comes to our kids. So the bottom line is we have to elevate our children. So if you're talking about specific examples, yeah, I guess the specific examples would be when you see your kid do something great. Oh, chayim, oh, so-and-so, this and that, Dave, whatever. What a nice thing you did. That's the way a tzaddik acts. We say that's the way that we should talk. That's the way a tzaddik, a righteous person. Oh, you're such a tzaddik. You're such a, and kid does something wrong. This is not befitting of a tzaddik. Not that you're not a tzaddik, right? But this act was an act that's not befitting of a tzaddik, right? We always say when it comes to educate, right? We always have to hit the act, right? We don't discuss the person. We don't say this person's not the person. You're a wonderful person, so this act isn't befitting of someone as wonderful as you. It doesn't,
criticize the act.
Right, we criticize the act. We never criticize the person. And
it's
when
a good point to remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to remember that when the kid is really testing you.
I hear you. You're right, but that you should know, by the way, that's actually the biggest test sometimes of a person's own midos and a person's own character traits. That Hashem is testing you. Like when your kid and listen, trust me, we all have our moments. It's like. The kid's driving you, you know what I mean? Suddenly, like I told you how many times not to like draw on the floor and like cause, trust me, we have our, please don't do this. I've had enough issues with rental houses. Or who knows what, you know what I mean? Like, and did I have to specifically say, I thought it was pretty clear from the fact that like, don't smash the wall, that like, don't do the, but like, so those are times that like, yeah,
So
we should look at it.
At the adult.
Yeah, we should look at it like. Well, am I just going to lose it and say, like, I've had it. How many times I got to tell you the same thing? Or is it going to be? We're going to keep going. We're going. They tell of a rabbi. His name was Rabbi Preda, and he would teach the same lesson over to a certain Talmud, a certain student 400 times. The Gemara, the Talmud talks about this. Well, because we have to have patience with it. If they don't get it, they don't get it. You say, now it could be the kids testing you and they really do get it, But okay, our job is we have to give the kid the benefit of the doubt. If you're going to accuse your kid that they don't understand, that's just keep going. You say it over again. Let me try to show you a different way. Show you, it's got to be.
Do you know which section of the Talmud, which tractate?
Brachos deals with a little bit of that type of stuff. Yeah, Brachos deals with a little bit. That would be probably the one that would deal with it. There's something actually called it's called the Sechta Derech Eretz, and it talks about it's not Derech Eretz means the way we act, acting properly. Pirkei Avot would be the probably the best example possible. If a person just sits down and reads Pirkei Avot, you'll see concepts, just speak kindly, speak calmly, speak this, speak that. Again, these are things that we can go on and on. There's a lot to discuss, but you have to raise your children. You don't, it's the act, it's not the person, it's the this. These type of things are
so important.
They are so important beyond belief, because the more and more, if we just put down our kid and we don't raise them up, and we have to find those kids who aren't, so let's say when it comes to, the kid's not so great at sports, the kid's not so great at this, the girl's not so good at this, or the boy's not so good at this, or who knows what. So then we got to find other things that they are and raise them in that. Say, wow, I'm so impressed. You're so amazing at that. Can you maybe show me some things, or I'm sure your friends must. Because if we don't build our kids up, so how do we expect them to be able to handle anything in life and any challenges, they'll think I'm so obviously it's a balance, but yeah, those people who are, and I mean, I just see many times just when it comes to teaching and when it comes to just in school, you see those kids and you see things resonate, you know what I mean? Like you'll see later on the kid doesn't have the confidence to do this, the kid doesn't have, and you'll see why, because the parents are all over them all the time and babying them and you gotta, again, that's part as well when we're talking about education and allowing, this is a child that's been given a person, but it's not just like your little kid under, and your job and our job is to, build this person up to become independent, to become, now again, parent is a parent, you know what I mean? You always have your parents there, with you and stuff, but we want them to become independent people, independent and to be confident in themselves and that's how they can become leaders then, in their own way. So continuing on, just a few more points, then we'll end off with a nice. You want to talk the talk, right? You got to walk the walk, which is, and there's a great example when it comes to the Parshat Vayera, which is when Avraham, right, the classic idea, the Torah starts and says Vayera elav Hashem be'elonim amrei. The Avram, he just had his Brit Milah, his circumcision. This is the third day now after the Brit Milah, and it says that Hashem appeared to him in Elonim Amrei. This was the place where he appeared. And the Torah, the commentaries discussed is like, why do I have to say in Elonim Mamre that and Mamre was actually an individual who Avram went to, and Avram asked this individual before. Very interesting question. Avram was told he should have a bris, he should have this circumcision, and he was told that he was trying to get all the other people as well to have this bris. And he has this question. He goes,
how old was he at the time?
He was 99 then when he had when he got the bris. This was right. It's not a. So let me ask you a question. It's one thing if you tell you try to get a bunch of people. You want to try a new cookie. How about let's try a new cookie? Okay, we'll try the cookie. Yeah, I heard it's not so bad. We'll try. To try to get a bunch of other individuals to go get a Brit, a circumcision is kind of like not so. So he's trying to think like, how am I going to do this? And so he goes to Mamre and he's asking his advice. And what's his question? This is his question. His question is that if I do it first, meaning if I have the bris first, which I guess would make the most sense that I should have the bris first, but what's going to happen? I'm going to be out, for a few days. You know what I mean? I'm going to be, and we, as we know, this is a fact. It's why the Torah says it was the third day. That was the third day is the most painful day for a baby. And this is a true fact. When it comes to a baby, the third day after the bris milah is always the day that's the most painful. I remember with my own boy, it's a fact. It's true. And so that was the most pain, So he knew he was going to be out for a few days, So it's like I'm not going to be able now to convince these other people because I'm going to be a little knocked out, But on the other hand, if I go and tell them, they're, how's that going to work? They're not going to really. And Mamre told him that the best way, and this is a lesson for each and every one of us, the best way to model, the best way you want to get a bunch of people to do something, you're trying to convince people, the one thing, yes, you might be out, but you do it yourself, and you do it first. And there's no better example than you doing something first, showing people that this is how it's done. And that's the bottom line when it comes, we can't have, we ourselves, we have to model, we have to show what we're, and when it comes to parenting, this is beyond, important. You can't have double standards, you can't, kids are much smarter than we realize when we try to tell our, I'll just throw out a few examples, when it comes to, let's say, honesty, So what happens, we see all the time, right, when it comes to we tell our children we have to be honest, right? We have to be honest. We have to speak honestly. We have to, integrity. There's, we're honest people. And so what happens? That same child then goes with their parent, right, to the amusement park, right? They're in SeaWorld or they're in the zoo or they're in so-and-so. And what does it say? It says, if you're 11 and above or if you're so-and-so, so what does the parent tell the little kid? Hey, you're a little squirt, you're a little kid. You'll tell them you're 9, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to pay, you go to the movies, right? Or who knows what, and it's cheaper. what is the kid seeing? Kid's seeing, well, when you want to get a good deal, you know what I'm saying, then you lie. And that's what I understand from the parent, right? When usually you tell the truth. This is what mom wants me to do. They want me to tell the truth. But when I get in cheaper in the movies, you know what I'm saying, or cheaper in SeaWorld, then I don't have to tell the truth. Or people are you know, they always bring the classic example where the phone rings. So what happens? The father or the mother is there and they don't want to talk to this person, right? The phone's there, they don't want to talk to this person. So what happens? And suddenly, next thing you know, they're telling the kid, you know, or the mother's telling the kid about the father's telling about the mother. They're not home. They're not telling the person they're not home. They're not going to be home for a long time, you know. And you know what we know, right? I'm saying that's not the truth, right? What do we do? These situations do come up. So what, you know? Very simple. I'm saying the person, I'm sorry, they're not available right now. Whatever it is, I'm saying there are definitely things that can be said. Huh? You know, and there's a lot of examples. You know, honesty is just one of them. But there's so, you know, the concept of speaking respectful and speaking, you know, telling our kids, yeah, you know, we gotta, you know, we speak respectful, we speak with kind words, we speak. The next thing you know, they see the parent, you know, screaming at this one or speaking not nicely to this one on the phone. Oh, they try to explain, well, when we're on the phone, I'm talking to my business partner, I can speak not respectfully. What do you mean? I don't know. We always. You know, and that has to be something, and there's many, many examples of this. There really are. There's tons and tons of different ideas, but we have to remember, I'm saying our kids are smart, and just forgetting just about the fact that our kids are smart, but if we want to educate our children and show them, it's all us. It's the example of who we are. And I know countless times you'll hear these, you know, these things later on in life that the kid will say, you know, like, I know that my parent who, you know, the fact that they're such good people, that's what caused me and helped me to become a good person. The fact that I knew who they really were. You know, so really, it's really us. You know what I mean? It depends on, you know, if we show. So, and I just wanted to, two or three more ideas and then one story and we'll end off here. And there's actually another kind of just related to this idea, but... well, actually, we'll go on to this other one. The idea is, imagine if you know, those people who wear glasses, those people who wear contacts or wear, so what do they, you know what, actually, I'm sorry, let me backtrack for a moment. There's a certain thing that we say in the tefillot, in the morning tefillot every day, and it says that we should have sweet in our mouths the words of Torah. And it says it should be for our children, but it doesn't say then for our children's children. There's another part of the tefillah of the prayer that says when we're learning Torah for the right purposes, they give that bracha specifically for our children and then our children's children and everyone. And the rabbis ask, they say, well, why when it came to sweetness of Torah, there it just says it says just our children. It doesn't say our children's children. But yet when it came to the other one, it keeps going onward, saying every. He says the idea that if our children see the sweetness of Torah in our mouths by us, that we love Torah, we love our Judaism, it'll automatically trickle into them. We don't need a special bracha for our children because they'll see that we love Torah. And they'll see that we love our Judaism, we love practicing, we love modeling, and it's an important lesson just for us all to realize that it has to be that we're happy, we're discussing the sweetness, the happiness. They have to see that in us. One other very important point. Again, those people who wear glasses and contacts, just take them off for a moment. Well, it's only me right now, I guess. But you're wearing. Okay, so I'll take them off. So
I can imagine how blurry it would be right
So
now.
I would do. Someone told me actually this was actually the I want to call it lesson. This was a project that was done, and apparently it was this huge meeting with a bunch of people, and they had all these people who had glasses and that, and he told them, take it off and pass it to the person to the right of you. And so every person took them off. I guess a lot of people wore glasses, whatever it was, took it off, and they each put on a different pair of glasses. Suddenly everyone can't see, right? And the person said, when you have different glasses, right, it's a different world, right? It's a different perspective. That's really the concept when it comes to our children, meaning to say that our children see the world very differently from a very different lens than we see the world, right? And right, we say it all the time. There are different people different strokes for different people, just within people, even itself, different adults, right? The way I see things might be a little different than the way you see things, but definitely our children, our children definitely see things. They always say when it comes to teens, this teenager, I don't know, they got their own way of thinking, and they got their own, it's very different than from the adult, but and little children as well. And it's a different lens, and we many times don't realize that, right? We talk to the kid as if like, why don't you see things the way I see things, right? I'm the adult, right? I know much more than you, right? I'm, and especially
I'm wrong, you're right.
I'm wrong, you're right.
Wrong.
Well, that's for sure. Right? We shouldn't get into those power struggles, those type of things. But like, right? I'm much smarter, right? I'm a more experienced. I'm an adult. You're my child, of course. And we need to take a step back and just take off our glasses for a moment and realize that when you see things from a different lens, if you try to go into that kid's lens and see the way they're seeing the world and the way they're seeing the situation and the way they're seeing our relationship with them, it's different. It's a different lens. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to focus on that. We need to realize that it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge impact and the way we treat them and our relationship with them. We have to realize that from their perspective and from who they are and their level of maturity, from where they are, so they see things very differently. We need to realize where, in conclusion, and just to sum things up, and we end off then with it's a pretty powerful story, but we have to realize that every comment that we make, our actions that we make, they're very important, and our job as parents and our job in educating our children is a very important debt. We shouldn't just take it, we had children and onward, and every positive comment that we can make, and we should try our hardest. Try every day even, but try your hardest. Always find the positive. Always find the good. Your kid did this. Your kid did. Yes, they might do a lot of other things also that aren't so. You know what I mean? But we look for the positive. Look for and build them up. Keep keep elevating them, and it builds the confidence and builds our relationship with them, which is really everything. That's because we want to be those people who, when our kid is 20 years old, and when our kid is teenagers and who knows what, that they'll be coming to us. And they'll still want to keep their relationship. It's only going to be if they know that there's that unadulterated love, that of course we love them and we care for them, and that's the only way it's going to be. And that they're going to have that relationship. Otherwise, it'll be like, I'll go to someone else because I don't know that my parent really cares about me. Right? It's only. I just want to end off with this story, and I just heard this last night. It's a pretty wild story, a pretty powerful story, but I think it drives the point home. There was this. It was a bad snowstorm in the East Coast, and this rabbi tells over the story that he was a rabbi of the shul, and he assumed that it was like 3 feet of snow. It was like, nobody's going to come to shul this morning, So I do I go? Do I not go? But I guess it's part of his contract. What I'm saying, he's got to go. But he said, listen, maybe him, and he knows one other individual. He knows the shamash. He's the guy who helps open the doors and close the doors. He figures he's for sure going to be there. So he goes, okay, fine. So me and him will be there, and we'll we'll daven together. If that's the case, all right. So he trekked through the snow. 3 feet of snow. But he trekked through the snow. We got there. And then he sees, there's the shamash there. All right, fine, me and the shamash. And then suddenly another knock at the door, and someone else shows up. It was one other individual, and it was already time to start. So I'm not sure what that means. Time to start. You figured there's not going to be many people over here, so why didn't? But at that point, he didn't have a conversation. So they daven, had a whole davening together. The rabbi, the shamash, and then this other individual. And at the end of davening, he goes over to this person. He says, "Oh, Shalom Aleichem, how are you? What's your name? How you doing? Welcome." And the person, he said, I'm impressed. He goes, I'm the rabbi, so I kind of have to be your. But I'm impressed that you showed up. It's a pretty bad storm. He goes, just wondering, what's your, do you have a story maybe to tell, or you have it's just interesting that you came, and. So the person who's an adult now says as follows. He says, when I was in high school, he says that my father would always try to wake me up to go to shul, to come daven, and he would wake me up early in the morning, whatever it was, and whatever time shul was, he'd wake me up and come in, and whatever the kid's name was, let's call him Chaimel, whatever. Chaimel, can you come on, let's get up. I would take my covers, throw them over my head, turn to the other side, and then go back to sleep. My father would come in 10 minutes later. Chaimel, it's going to be so-and-so minutes till davening. Take my covers, throw them over. Another 10 minutes. And it would keep going on, and every time, and it was always said in a very, Chaimel, we're getting a little later for davening, we want to make sure that every time the same story. And what happened then when it was ready, like 10 minutes left or whatever it was, my father knew, I guess, that it wasn't happening. He wasn't able, and he would take another cover for me and put that other cover on me, and he would say, "I want to make sure just that you're warm, that you're comfortable," and that in and of itself is a pretty wild part of the story. But there's more, and so this person said, and this happened every day. Basically, it was like the same story over and over. And the kid, he would never go to shul, and like the same from his father, the same routine every day, the same routine. And he says that years later, the father actually sadly suffered a heart attack, and he died from this heart attack. And so the kid's now telling over. This is by the funeral of the father, and it's a pretty powerful story. By the funeral of the father, so the kid can't believe this happened. You know what I mean? Like his father's, he's totally baffled. He's totally like he can't believe this is going on. And he says that as this was happening, and as they were lowering the coffin into the ground, the kid's like running over to the coffin and running over and saying like Dad, I need, thinking in his own head, I need to do something that I could do for you, something that I could do that'll make me, I feel I want to do something for you. And he thought to himself, he goes, I know, Dad, that you always wanted so badly that I should go to shul and I should go daven. You would come in every day. It meant so much to you that I should go. And I feel bad. I didn't. Every time I would turn over in my covers, every time. But I know that it was very dear to you. It was very... And he says, the kid said, because of that he goes, I'm always gonna do that, no matter what. And he told the rabbi, he said, that the more difficult it is, meaning like a day like today where there's 3 feet of snow and it's so, the more it makes me feel good that I'm making my dad proud, and and I think the lessons of it's a very powerful one for us, that our kids really, they want to do, they want, things are difficult for them at times, we all have our challenges, and as adults we have challenges, as kids we have challenges, and there are different things that are hard for us, but kids want to please their parents. They want to do what their parents, are trying to guide them in, or trying to, and if we realize that, if we realize the impact